Hello everyone! Kamusta kayong lahat? And kamusta na ang mga outputs natin? Are you done with it? And then submit it! Okay, so I hope na tapos nyo na rin and I know this is very hard for you and I hope na okay na kayo. Nakakapag-cope pa rin sa ganitong situation natin. And let us accept this kind of situation, this new normal na tinatawag natin. And today, at this point, we will be discussing about the lesson 3 and 4 of our module 1. This will be the last lessons for our module 1. And we will start our discussion in lesson 3. So, ang lesson 3 natin is entitled Features of an Effective Organization. So, ayan, palitin lang natin itong mukha natin dito. Baka tayo yung makabisado ninyo. Okay, so pwede na ba yan? Alright, so let's proceed. Before we proceed, I have one question for you. Ito. Okay, so I just have one question for everyone. How will you determine if your organization is effective? Sige nga, paano mo masasabi na ang isang organization is effective? Paano mo masasabi na ang DIMSO is effective? Or ang College of Management is effective? Or ang PA department is effective? Sige nga, paano mo masasabi? Anyone? You! You na nakikinig. Of course, ikaw. So, you can comment down your answer if you have different insights, okay? So, let's take a look on the concept of organizational effectiveness. At this point, you can be able to conclude that your organization is effective when. So, kunin ko lang yung pointer natin, yung pen natin. Okay, ayan. So, organizational effectiveness. So, masasabi mo daw na effective ang isang organization kapag he has or the organization is able to meet goals and objectives of the organization and it is defined by its output. Siyempre, meron dapat output. Parang kayo lang din, di ba? As a student, you are defined by your outputs. Your effectiveness defined by your outputs. Sa organization naman, paano natin nasasabing defined by its output? Sa DIMSO, ilang professionals ang na-produce na ng DIMSO? Ilang lawyers na ang product ng PA department? Diba? Ilang teachers na rin ang na-produce ng PA department? See? Me, myself, I am a product of PA department or Public Administration Department. Of course, in DIMSO rin. And in the College of Management. College of Arts and Management pa na. So, I can say that DIMSO in the PA department is highly effective in delivering its services. So, ano pa? It exhibits a strength on 5 areas. Ano itong mga 5 areas na to? Leadership, decision-making and structure, people, work processes, and systems, of course, culture. So, dapat daw, ang isang organization, maganda ang leadership niya. Yung decision-making niya is naayon sa management din. And yung structure is, meron talagang naka-design. Of course, yung people, yung mga tao niya, yung mga sistema, and yung organizational culture. So, let's go on to the features of an effective organization. First one, the composition of interrelated individuals. Sabi niya dito, organization as a separate entity in its environment and interrelated groups of individuals determines the boundary of organization. So, in this feature, it only signifies that in an organization, sa isang organization daw, is composed of different individuals, composition of interrelated individuals with different capabilities and specialties. However, despite of these differences, they are interrelated to each other, meaning these people is connected with each other. They still have functions that needs to accomplish with a common goals and objectives. So papasok dyan ang pangalawang feature, which is effective sharing of goals. 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 Okay, so each employee knows the goals and objectives of the organization. Dapat daw, as part of the workforce, ikaw mismo, pag ikaw naging employee na, as part of the workforce of the organization, you should know the goals of your organization. As a student of the College of Management, you should know the goals of your college. And of course, yung university mo. Once mag-a-apply kayo sa isang organization, one advice is that know the goals of the organization. Bakit? Most of the time kasi, tinatanong yan kung ano nga alam mo sa pinag-a-applyan mo or ano yung knowledge mo pagdating sa mga information pagdating ng isang organization kasi tatanungin nila, how can you contribute with our organization, di ba? So, mahihirapan kang sagutin yun kapag hindi mo alam yung goals ng organization at kanino ka nag-a-apply. So, third one would be deliberate and conscious creation and recreation. Deliberate means being cautious. Kung babasahin mo dyan, it's about flexibility of the organization to its workforce. With what? Promotion, demotion, transfer of employees. So, pag deliberate ang pinag-usapan natin, it means being cautious, being careful. Careful saan daw? Sa pag-create and recreate ng mga bagong social units within the organization. Dapat flexible ang organization mo in terms of promotion, demotion, and transfer of employees. Ang promotion is about pagtaas ng posisyon. Pag ikaw na-promote, syempre, mas tataas yung position mo. Kunyari, Admin Assistant 1, Admin Assistant 2, Admin Assistant 3, Admin Officer 1. Wow! Diba? Tumataas ka na. Dahil doon, tumataas din ang sahod mo, of course. Pag sinabi mong demotion naman, nako, mag-ingat-ingat ka. Kasi, pag narinig mo ang demotion na ito, ibig sabihin, kabaliktaran ng promotion, which is, bababa yung position mo. Sa transfer naman, ililipat ka lang ng isang either section or division or even organization. Parang sa akin, galing ako ng ITRMC. Na-transfer ako dito sa DIMSO. Di ba? From government to government. Since this is my passion to educate youths. Fourth one, great teamwork. Self-explanation na to eh. Great teamwork and achievement of common goals, common objectives. So, pag sinabi mong great teamwork, we are talking about coordination and participation of all members. Sa klase ninyo, dapat pag may mga activities kayo, you have this kind of coordination. You have a good teamwork. Sa isang organization daw, kailangan maganda ang samahan ng bawat isa. And then, kailangan nami-met yung objectives and na-implement yun ng effectively. Paanong paraan? Siyempre, kailangan mo ng great teamwork. Sa achievement of common objectives, makakatulong ang pagkakaroon ng great teamwork sa isang organization. Ganon din sa klase ninyo. O kaya, pag may mga group activities kayo. O kaya, pag nasa trabaho na kayo, may mga clusters kayo, may mga sections kayo. And then, you have this kind of work. Pag-uusapan ninyo, siyempre, pag walang teamwork, walang matatapos. Pataasan lang kayo. Wala kayong magiging output. So, ngayon, as of your situation, paano mo i-apply yung great teamwork na yan? Hindi pwedeng i-apply yan pagdating sa mga activities ninyo, ha? Baka sakali, uy, great teamwork, sabi ni sir. Oh, mag-teamwork tayo pa dito sa mga learning activities na requirements natin. Hindi pwede yan. So, pag great teamwork ang pinag-usapan natin within the organization lang. Okay, so, pwede naman pag sa great teamwork, i-apply mo yun sa bahay ninyo, diba? Magpatulong ka sa mga matatalinong kapatid mo o kaya sa mga magulang mo para ma-achieve mo yung objective mo to have that kind of output. So, let's go to the next. High employee morale. We are talking about ethical conduct of employees. We have values, norms, behaviors, practices, and integrity. When we say moral kasi, we are talking about your ethical conduct. Sa government agencies, take note, meron tayong sinusunod na batas pagdating dito para dyan. So, it is the Republic Act 6713 or the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards of Public Officials and Employees. So, sa Division of Work naman, it talks about designation of tasks and responsibilities to the entire workforce. So, lahat ng tao sa isang organization, mga employees niya, mabibigyan ng kanya-kanyang tasks and responsibilities. Papasok na dyan ang principle of specialization. Saan ka magaling? Dapat doon ka. Kung magaling ka sa computer, nasa IT ka. Kung magaling ka sa reporting, nasa admin ka. Diba? Yun ang trabaho mo. Naka-specialize. Yun ang division of work. So, next one would be offers training opportunities. Sa organizations daw, isasend ng mga management ang kanilang employees from different trainings, seminars, and workshops to enhance capabilities. So, kapag nakapasok na kayo sa isang organization at inutusan kayong mag-attend or pumunta ng isang training, seminars, or workshop, don't hesitate. Bakit? Kasi, yun yung magiging basehan para makita nila na yung skills mo is mataas na. It is for the purpose to enhance your skills. At kapag nangyari yon, magagamit mo yon sa promotion mo. And then makikita ng mga evaluators na ikaw ay isang capable employee and deserve to be promoted. Okay? So, paano? Sabi niya dito, effective organization. So, makikita mo daw na effective ang isang organization kapag may mga ino-offer na siyang trading opportunities to its workforce. So, coordination, pinag-usapan naman dito is yung efforts ng bawat isa ng lahat ng organization are united and integrated into one purpose and goals. Hindi kanya-kanya. Okay? Iisa lang ang direction ninyo. Iisa ang coordination ninyo. Iisa ang gusto nyong mangyari. So, next one, strong leadership. Leadership makes it strong when relationship takes over. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Importante ang relationship sa isang organization. Kapag ang organization mo is masyadong authoritative, nako, meron tayong issues in what? Trust and confidence. Siyempre, pag wala kang connection or communication o kaya relationship sa iyong leader o kaya yung boss mo o di kaya sa kaibigan mo, of course, we have this kind of issue ng trust and confidence. Baka mawalan siya ng tiwala sa'yo. Pag binigyan ka ng trabaho, may doubt, di ba? Merong doubt sa kanyang isipan, kaya mo ba? Pero kapag may relationship, ang isang leader at saka kanyang subordinates, of course, magkakaroon ng effective organization. Yung outputs and performance of the organization can be achieved through this kind of strong leadership. Okay? So, cooperative relationship. Kanina, cooperation. Ngayon, meron namang relationship. It motivates people to perform their part. Bakit kasi importante yung relationship? Hindi basta nakikipag-cooperate ka. Bakit importante ang relationship? Sa pamilya mo, bakit importante ang relationship? Okay na ba na pag nagtatrabaho ka sa bahay is okay na yon? Kasi ginagawa mo naman yung trabaho mo. Paano kapag hindi kayo nagpapansinan? Paano kapag walang kwentuhan? Walang asaran? Di ba? Walang relationship. Ganon din sa isang organization. You will not be motivated kapag walang relationship. That's why these features of an effective organization is eager to point out relationship. Okay? So, yun yung unang-una nyong kailangang i-build pag pumasok na kayo sa trabaho, pag pumasok na kayo sa isang organization. It will motivate you also as an employee to perform your part. Next one, handles poor performance. Meron tayong tinatawag ng collective actions which are taken for poor performance. So, kapag daw poor performance ang result ng evaluation mo, you will be given corrective actions. When it comes to poor performance, as an administrator, hindi pwedeng tanggal agad. Okay? Sa isang administration, hindi pwedeng tanggal agad. Lalo na sa government. We have this called due process of law. Saan, syempre, reprimand will be the first offense on it. So, be careful when you do your job later on kapag nag-work na kayo. So, 13, well-defined authority and responsibility relationship. Authority, responsibility, relationship. Authority and responsibility, na-discuss na natin yan last time, right? It is the right to give orders and the obligation to the organization is well stated in the organizational structure. So, yung daw trabaho mo at yung responsibilidad mo, yung kakayahan mo is nakadefine mismo sa organizational structure. Kung titignan mo sa structure ng ating college, makikita mo na agad yung designation or yung trabaho or yung otoridad ng isang employee based pa lang sa structure na nakapost doon. Okay? So, next one. Adapt to opportunities and changes. So, organizations must recognize and seize good opportunities and changes. Of course, kailangan ng isang organization is flexible to change and opportunities. What if magkaroon ng madaming mga regulations, madaming mga factors na makakapekto sa operations ng organizations, dapat kailangan ninyong mag-adapt. For example, like this one, pandemic, di ba? How does your organization, how does DIMSU adapts changes right now? So, kung titignan mo, we as teachers, we adapt through learning different kind of modalities. Ibig sabihin, we are attending different kind of webinars in order to be equipped na turuan kayo kung paano ngayon ang learning system natin. Kasi wala nang face-to-face, di ba? So, ngayon, ito ginagawa natin. So, you can say that DIMSU is an effective organization because they can adapt to changes like this situation, pandemic, new normal. Opportunities, paano kapag madaming mga offers outside international courses, di ba? Sa mga employees or mga teachers ng DIMSU, of course. Siyempre, opportunity yun para mag-grow ang isang employee ng isang organization, and then pag bumalik na siya, mas magiging productive yung organization na yun. So, next one, group behavior. It talks about formal and informal organizations. So, we are talking about the two kinds of organization that has been discussed last lesson 1 and 2, di ba? So, which helps develop the behavior of a group. Okay, sa isang organization daw, kailangan merong informal organizations and formal organizations. Importante itong dalawa kasi it develops the behavior of a group. Sa informal, lalo na sa informal. Diba? Kapag sa informal kasi, it is based on relationship. It is based on common interest. Siyempre, kapag pare-pareho ng interest ang isang grupo o isang organization, it develops their good behavior. The group behavior, isa yung kultura ng organization. Okay? So, papasok ulit yung tinatawag natin na performance. So it defines how effective an organization based on its outcomes. So take note, outcomes and performance. Sa performance in the government, to measure the performance of each employee, meron tayong tinatawag na IPCR. Pag sa employee ito sa isang individual. Ang ginagamit is IPCR. Okay? So, pagdating sa performance, IPCR. Pag naman organization na or office na ang ini-evaluate para ma-assess ang isang office or organization, ang ginagamit is OPCR or Office Performance Commitment Review. Pag IPCR, Individual Performance Commitment Review. Doon i-base yung performance mo as an individual and as an organization. Ganon din sa akin. Pag sa akin, gumagawa kami ng IPCR twice a year. Dito sa DINSO, hindi lang IPCR ang meron. Meron din yung students evaluations, right? So, you will evaluate your professor with regards to a certain indicators. I hope na-try nyo na rin and mag-evaluate ng mga professors ninyo, right? So, lastly will be well-known company policies. So, dito, rules and regulations of an organization must be consistent in the policies outside its environment. Hindi pwedeng, sabi ng government, bawal ang face-to-face Pero sabi ng school, pwede. Diba? Pwede na. Hindi pwedeng ganun. It should not be like that. It must be consistent with the rules or policies of the local and national government. It must be in consonance with the external environmental policies of the government. Okay ba? So, for your learning activity, here it goes. In your locality, specifically in your barangay, does your local officials effective in their leadership? So, effective daw ba ang mga local officials ninyo? If yes, discuss how. And if no, discuss why. Bakit? So, kailangan nyong i-justify yan. Okay, so let's proceed to the lesson 4 para matapos na tayo sa module 1. Lesson 4 is entitled Organizational Environment. So, yung pinag-uusapan natin kanina ng mga environment. Okay, so dito na tayo. So, organizational environment, it is anything that affects the performance, operations, and resources of an organization. Take note, anything that affects. Pwede rin tong that influence. Influence, di ba? Oh, yan. Hirap mag-type. Okay. Okay, basta. Ganyan na lang. Walang na time. Automatic na yan. Anything that can influence the performance of operations and resources of an organization. So, pwede rin gamitin ito So, kung nangyari, for example, ikaw mismo na employee, nakaka-apekto ka ba sa performance ng organization mo? Of course, di ba? Siyempre, ikaw yung part of the workforce. Ano pa? Mga policies, mga regulations, pinag-usapan natin kanina. Nakaka-apekto ba sa operations ng organization? So, kapag nakaka-apekto siya, meaning, this is called organizational environment. So, there are two classifications of organizational environment. First, the internal and external environment. When we say internal, of course, meaning to say within the organization. Behavior, culture, we are talking about the behavior, culture, style, and mission statement, including its personals. Okay? So, external environment. We are talking about outside the organization with little control or no control at all. So, ibig sabihin, kung outside organization, yung mga bagay na limitado lang yung control mo o kaya wala ka talagang control. For example, yung climate, diba? Yung inflation, iba't iba. So, pag-usapan natin yan later on. So let's go to the external environment. In external environment, it has two layers, the general and the task environment. So pag sinabi mong general environment, it has political, economic, sociocultural, and technological. It indirectly affects. Pag sinabi mong indirectly, of course, kabalik ka rin, hindi direct lahat. Di ba? So kung ikaw ito, paano ba? Ayan. So, kung ikaw ito, dalawa. Okay? So, tatlo to. Tatlo. Indirect eh. So, magbigay lang tayo ng mga konting examples. So, indirect. Ako ito, si chairperson ito, at ikaw ito. Since dapat, ang kailangan mong gawin is para maapektuhan sana yung isang organization, paano ba? Hindi. Okay? Palitan natin yung one natin. Okay? Ako ito, at Sir Alan ito, or si chairperson ito. Ako yung advisor mo. And then, ikaw itong student ito. Instead na dumirekta ka sa akin, hindi. Kundi, dumirekta ka kay chairperson. Di ba? So, ngayon, si chairperson ngayon, ipupunta yung information sa akin. So, parang ganon, indirectly na sinabi mo sa akin. So, instead na yung sasabihin mo para sa akin, sa iba mo sinabi. At yung pinagsabihan mo na yon, yun yung magsasabi ng concerns mo o kaya problema mo. Diba? That's what we call indirectly affects or indirect information naman yon. Pero pagdating naman sa organization, tinutukoy natin dito yung political. Bakit indirect? Pag-usapan natin yan mamaya. Bakit economic? Indirect din. And sociocultural, technological environment. So, sa task environment naman, we have owners, clients, suppliers, labor, competition, and regulators. So, kabaligtaran ng general environment. Kasi direkta lang nakaka-affect sa performance or operations of the organization. So, gets? Okay. Yan. Isa-isay natin. So, sa general environment, we have political, economic, sociocultural, technological, and technological. Okay? So, sa political, we are talking about laws and regulations. Bakit nakaka-apekto ang laws and regulations sa isang organization? And bakit indirectly affects it, the operations or the resources of the organizations? For example, ikaw ay isang liaison sa isang organization and then nalaman mo na bawal palang lumabas, di ba? And then you have this kind is siyempre liaison yung trabaho mo, di ba? Kailangan mong pumunta sa mga agencies, kailangan mong pumunta ng mga different organizations para magpapirma or magproseso ng bawat documents ng isang organization. Pero sabi ng batas, bawal lumabas. Di ba? Nakaka-relate ka ba? Bawal daw lumabas kasi lockdown, pandemic, hindi pwede. Okay? So, nakaka-apekto ba yun sa isang organization? Yes. Of course, kapag hindi natapos, siyempre, apektado yung operasyon, yung performance ng organization. Pag sinabi mong economic, supply and demand of goods and services. So, we are talking about here the inflation, interest rates, GDP, GNP, and etc. Pag GDP, we are talking about gross domestic product, and GNPS, gross national product. So, pag sinabi mong supply and demand kasi, pag ang law of supply and demand, mapag-aralan nyo sa economics ninyo na kapag tumaas ito, yung supply, kapag tumaas ang supply, bababa ang demand. Kapag tumaas ang demand, bababa ang supply. Pwede rin pareho. Mataas ang supply, mataas din ang demand. Pero ang law of supply and demand is that pag tumaas ito, bumababa ang demand. Bakit kaya? Pag-aralan nyo yan sa economics ninyo. Kapag bumaba naman ang demand, tumataas naman ang supply. Imagine that. So, sir, paano nga ba nakaka-apekto yung supply and demand or yung inflation, interest rates, GDP, or GNP sa isang organization? That's a good question. So, paano nga ba? So, tingnan natin. For example, you are in a business organization. You are in a company. Paano nakaka-apekto pag tumaas yung presyo ng mga produkto? Pag tumaas yung presyo ng mga equipments? Even sa mga schools, pag tumaas yung presyo ng, say for example, sa school na lang, huwag na sa business organization. Pag nasa eskwelahan kayo, diba, ang management, kailangan ng computers. Pag tumaas yung presyo ng computer systems natin, yung mga Microsofts natin, syempre, maapektuhan ba yung supply ng ating schools, mga eskwelahan? Of course. Syempre, dahil yung budget nila nakalaan lang doon sa presyong na-estimate nila. Kapag tumaas ang presyo ng isang computer supplies, yung mga supplies and mga materials or facilities ng isang organization, syempre, wag muna ngayon. Syempre, kapag nangyari yon, syempre, hindi sila bibili or hindi sila magde-demand with it. So, in result, ang operation or yung performance ng isang school will be affected. Paano? Syempre, walang gagamitin ng mga students. Lalo na sa mga private schools, di ba? Computers are very important. So, kapag walang budget, mataas kasi ang inflation, mataas ang interest rates or yung mga basta yung inflation. Syempre, hindi sila makakabili. Kapag hindi sila nakabili, of course, walang produkto. Kapag walang mga computers, walang product, walang services. Kapag walang services, of course, kawawa ang mga students. O kaya, kayo mismo, di ba? It really affects the performance of the organization when it comes to inflation and supply and demand concerns. Okay? So, socio-cultural environment, we are talking about populations. Population, culture, education, and lifestyle. Paano kapag dumami ang population or yung demographics ng Pilipinas? Pag dumami ang pasyente, for example, sa ITMC, right? So, madami ang pasyente ng COVID. Walang mga facilities. Dahil sa dami ng mga pasyente, even kahit hindi COVID, walang facilities, is it affect the organization? Of course, maaapektuhan yung operation, lalong-lalo na yung mga services. Dahil doon, bababa yung performance ng isang organization, ng mga hospitals, kasi wala na silang paglagyan, wala na silang mga good facilities na pwedeng i-serve sa kanilang mga patients, sa kanilang mga clients. Technological environment, we are talking about, of course, technologies, innovations, systems. So, paano naman nakakapekto ang technology sa isang organization? Siyempre, ako din sumasagot. Diba? So, kausapin na lang kita. Maganda sana kapag face-to-face ito kasi mas two-way yung conversation natin. So, sabi kanina is, paano nakapekto ang technology sa isang organization? Kapag may technology ba, mas mapapabilis yung trabaho? Of course. Kapag may technology ba, kayang-kaya mong i-analyze ang isang data or any situation? Of course, siyempre, especially sa mga research, di ba? Sa DIMSO, more on research tayo. So, research instruction and extension, di ba? So, ang mga innovations na yan is very important in the performance of the DIMSO. Kasi we are being evaluated and we are doing such accreditations and ISO certifications. So, pag innovations, it really helps the organization. So, next one would be the task environment. Ano naman itong task environment? These are now the factors that directly affects the organization. Bakit directly? Kasi sila mismo ay nandun. Sila mismo, kapag nawala itong mga to, wala na agad. Diba? Masakit. Mas masakit mawalan ng mga ito. So, owners, clients, suppliers, and laborers. Kasi directly sila yung nag-ooperate, sila yung nagpo-produce, and sila yung nagmamanage ng organization. So, self-explanatory to. Mga owners, alam nyo na yan. Clients, of course, mga customers natin. Sa government, tawag sa kanila, of course, is clients. Sa private, is customers. Take note of that. Okay? Para hindi tayo customer. May customer ka. Pag nasa gobyerno na, may customer tayo. Client. Mas magandang pakinggan. Okay? So, supplier, more on business organization to, pero syempre sa mga government, meron ding mga supplier. Supplier ng alin? Ng mga facilities, materials, and other matters with regards to delivery of services. Labor. Syempre, pag labor pinag-usapan, we are talking about the workforce or the manpower of the organization. Imagine kapag walang manpower, dalawa, iisa, di ba? Ang naggumagalaw, how crucial it is. So, next one is the competition and regulators. Sa competition, when it comes to business organizations, of course, mayroong competitiveness and abilities of each organization. So, ibig sabihin, pataasan ito, pagalingan pagdating sa business organization. Pero, when it comes to government organizations, there is no such competition. Bakit? Non-profit organization po ang government natin. We are being given the authority to administer the public. Ganun ang organization. So, it does not compete to each other. Okay? So, regulators. We are talking about the authorities, government agencies, and interest groups. Since we identified na yung mga factors within an organizational environment, naingay yung aso. Sandali. Ayan, wala na. So, since we identify na yung mga factors within an organizational environment, what organizations do is to analyze these factors in order for them to be able to cope with changes and other matters to be adapt. So, what they do is to have an environmental analysis. So, environmental analysis is the process by which examines all the components, internal or external, which has influence on the performance of the organization. So, we're talking again, influence. Diba? So, it is a process. Ito yung process. And then, it for the purpose of examination of all components, internal or external. So, paano? We identify, scanning, analyzing, and forecasting. Pag sa identification or identifying, you will have the questions, what are the factors that affects the organization? So, you are now given the idea or identifying what are the factors. So, for scanning, it is about examining these factors. So, once na identify mo na, you are now going to examine it. It's about taking closer at these factors, especially those highly influence the organization. So, in terms of analyzing, we are talking about comprehensive examination. So, kung kanina sa scanning, oh, yan, nakita mo na. So, you are looking for the highly influence factors that will affects the organization. In analyzing, it is more comprehensive. They use tools to analyze data or factors like what? Benchmarking, depth technique, and scenario building. Lastly, forecasting. So, pag sinabi mong forecasting, it's about prediction of results, prediction of outcomes. So, organizations need to take a look on the impact. So, kailangan mong magkaroon ng prediction or forecast. Mag-forecast kung ano yung magiging output mo, kung ano yung magiging outcome ng gagawin mo. So, organizations need to take a look on the impact of the things they have accomplished. So, now, there are also techniques that are most commonly used in the organizations, especially in the government. So, let's take a look on it. Ayan. We have SWOT analysis and PESTLE analysis. So, ano ba itong mga analysis na ito? Okay? So, iisahin natin yan. So, sa SWOT analysis, of course, SWOT nga, di ba? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Kung titingnan mo dito, this is internal. So, ang focus mo, dapat is kung ano yung meron within the organization or within you, kung ikaw man yon. So, sa external naman, opportunities. Ano ba yung mga available opportunities and threats na pwedeng makahadlang or makapag-influence sa goals or objectives ng isang organization. So, kung titignan mo din dito, these are positive. More on positive ang pinag-uusapan sa strengths and opportunities. Dito naman, since weaknesses and threats siya, syempre negative ang notion. Okay? So, let's talk about strengths. Let's have some examples. For example, anong mga strengths ng isang organization? Let's say, finances. Pag madaming pondo, madaming produkto. Diba? Pag madaming pondo, madaming serbisyo. What else? Unique product. Meron kang makakaibang serbisyo. Kung for example, sa mga business o kaya sa mga barbershop, di ba? Kung titingnan mo, pag nagpagupit ka, kita mo yung gupit ko? Gupit ng barber. Ayan, so, pansin ko lang sa mga negosyo ngayon is gumagawa sila ng mga unique services. Anong ginagawa nila? Hindi lang sila naggugupit. Ginagawa nila, nagmamasahe. Pak, pak, pak. Ganon. So, di ba? Yun yung strength ng isang organization. Which, yun yung sa business organization. What about the government organization? Sa mga government agencies natin, ano yung mga strengths nila pagdating sa service? Diba? Minsan, pag pumupunta ka ng office nila, they greet you. Good morning, sir. Kahit naka-shorts ka lang, diba? Pag pumupunta ka, good morning, ma'am. O, ganun. So, strengths yun, of course. So, what else? What about location? Pag maganda yung location ng organization mo, of course, mas madaming market when it comes to business organization. Pag sinabi mong government organization naman, mga agencies, for example, dito sa San Fernando, di ba, kung makikita mo, ang daming mga national agencies dyan. So, halos tabi-tabi sila. They have this kind of strength na mas mabilis yung proseso. Kasi nga, magkakalapit at iisang lugar. So what about weaknesses? For example, quality of service, baka yung serbisyo mo matagal, di ba? Weaknesses mo yon. O kaya, yung skills, di ba? Skills ng mga tao mo, hindi sila mahirap kausapin. Skills pa yan. Hindi sila, parang, yung performance nila, unproductive. Okay? Kulang sila sa training. Weaknesses yon. Finances, of course, pwede yung maging weakness. Yung strength mo, pwede mong maging weakness. Baka kabaliktaran, di ba? Baka kulang sa pondo, kaya walang facilities, o kaya walang mga materials. So, weakness yon. Sa business naman, sa business organizations, cost of product. Baka mataas naman ang presyo ng produkto mo. Diba? Mataas ang singil mo, kaya wala kang market, wala kang benta. Weakness mo yon. Kailangan mong makipag-adapt sa changes. So, pag sa government, cost of product, yung saan sila pupunta, di ba? Baka mataas yung fees naman. Pag sa kaba, for example, yung tax or yung business fees na babayaran mo mas mababa kaysa sa San Fernando. O, dito na lang ako sa kaba. Parang gano'n. Okay? So, opportunities. For example, new markets. Diba? Advanced equipment. May maganda kang equipments. Opportunity yan para magkaroon ka ng magandang servisyo. And technologies, innovations, opportunities yan. Threats. Ano naman tong mga threats? Hindi ibig sabihin ng threats is may death threats. Okay? So, when it comes to organization, pag tinabi mong threats, for example, mga weather, di ba? Baka may parating na bagyo, threat yan. Downtrend ng market, growth. For example, mababa na ang stock market, bibili ka pa. Magbebenta ka ba o hindi? Kasi mababa na ang presyo, di ba? So, kailangan bumili ka. Parang ganon. So, new regulatory requirements. Threats yung mga, kunyari, may mga bagong batas, bawal lumabas. Yun na naman. So, may mga bagong batas. Threat yun yan. Bakit? Kasi malilimit yung movement ng serbisyo ng isang organization. So, ganon. Diba? May mga activities tayo when it comes to SWOT analysis. That's how you can identify your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay? So, sa PESEL analysis naman, PESEL means political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. Take note, ginagamit ito sa project development, especially sa mga DPWH. May kilala akong mga consultants, ito mga ginagamit nila. So, listen to this, okay? So, how will you able to evaluate or assess your project or anything na makaka-apekto sa sa organization mo. When it comes to political, we are talking about government policies. Ano ba yung mga regulations na yan? Ano ba yung mga pwedeng maka-apekto sa services ng inyong organization? So, mga grants, 'di ba? Ano ba yung mga pwede mong i-avail pagdating sa when it comes to political analysis, 'di ba? So, ano yung mga laws na pwedeng maka-apekto din sa organization, mga tax policies, gano'n. So, yan. For economic, ito na naman, inflation, unemployment, taxation, labor cost. Sa social naman, parang kanina lang, di ba? So, population, we are talking about income and poverty. So, you will analyze all these factors kung paano sila nakaka-apekto sa doon sa sa organization ninyo. Okay, so technological. So, we are talking about technology, communication, research, di ba? Automation. So, Does it affect your organization? Does it affect the operation and performance, especially the resources? So, yun yung mga question na kailangan yung tingnan. So, kung nakakapekto, you need to discuss it. So, you need to identify it. You need to scan it, analyze, okay? So, legal. So, kanina, pinag-usapan natin political. Ano naman yung legal? So, basta legal, ang pinag-usapan dyan is mga regulations, laws, focus sila yung mga ganun, mga policies, public policies, and yung mga requirements ng bawat public policies. So, environmental. So, pag sa environmental, we are talking about weather. Yeah, we are talking about climate, ganun. So, ano bang temperatura ngayon? Makakapekto ba yan sa paglabas ko? Di ba? So, part of your analysis. Pollution. Di ba? So, ay, baka may COVID dyan. Hindi ako pwedeng pumunta. Waste management. Ay, schedule ngayon ng nagbabasura. O, di ba? So, ito. Kailangan nating identify problema to. Mga ganon. So, hindi tayo makakagalaw. So, mga ganun. So, you need to analyze all these factors in order to cope or to come up with a solution or forecasting such solutions that will help the organization provide a good outcome. Okay? So, that's it for your learning activity. This is it. Imagine you are a fresh graduate of public administration and you intend to apply in a government agency, particularly the Civil Service Commission or CSC. Ang gagawin? Illustrate and create a SWOT analysis to determine your capability in entering government service. So, gagawa kayo ng SWOT analysis. I-identify, i-scan, and analyze, and forecast. Okay? So, hindi lang pag-identify. Kasi ang SWOT analysis, you need to, ano yung mga capabilities ninyo, ano yung mga strengths ninyo, ano yung mga weaknesses ninyo, opportunities, and threats. Okay? You need to justify that. Bakit? Ano bang meron sa akin? Ano bang kakayahan ko? Ano bang strengths ko? Okay. So, ano bang pwedeng maka-apekto sa pag-a-apply ko? Or yung capability, wala pa akong eligibility. Weakness. Diba? O kaya, threat. Threat kasi, diba? Hindi ka talaga tatanggapin. Wala kang eligibility. Anong kailangan mong gawin? Merong opportunity. Kailangan mong mag-exam. Okay? So, parang ganun. So, it's just an idea na kung ano yung mga gagawin niyo. So, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your done. Done in your name, okay? Pakilagay na lang din yung section ninyo kasi para mas mabilis kong i-identify, ay, ang section siya. Okay? So, done. Part of your participation. So, gawin nyo submit it on September 21. Right. So, thank you and God bless.